poorest boroughs anywhere in the UK. After I ceased to be mayor, after 2 terms, we had none of the poorest 20 boroughs. And that's because we had brought together the city with investment in infrastructure, by championing the education of the people and fantastic reductions in crime, which is utterly indispensable. I may say that we should be doing that now. If we Tories can't win on crime, then then we deserve to have our we can't win on anything. We must bring crime down across the country. And I just remind you that when I was mayor, we reduced the murder rate by 50%, and that is not a statistic that it is possible to fudge. If you look at London during the 8 years I was mayor, we had 4 or 5 years in which it was running at fewer than 100 murders a year, which is a truly astonishing thing in a city of 9 million or 8.5 million in the 21st century. So we did it by cutting crime, by increasing opportunity, by investing in infrastructure, by championing fantastic education. And that is what we can do for the whole country. It's a disgrace that only 7% of this country has full fibre broadband. In Spain, they have 85% of the country on full fibre broadband. There are whole towns in the UK where people are just sitting desperately on their computers watching the revolving pizza of doom. While in Spanish pueblos in Andalusia, they have speed of light connections. I think we should say no more to the mañana culture in our fibre optic provision. Let's get it done by 2025 across the country at the absolute latest. Let's lift up our spending on education so that we close the gap that has grown up around the country. And I'm afraid we're going to have to spend more, and we're going to have to spend more on policing to do what we want to do. We're going to have to spend, we are, but how are we going to do it? We're going to do it because we as Conservatives support the enterprise economy, and we support the wealth creators, and we support business and industry in a way that Jeremy Corbyn simply doesn't understand. Because the difference in us and the Labour Party is that we know that this fantastic economy is like some gigantic soaring eagle, propelled on 2 symmetrical wings. You see what I'm getting at? And on one wing, you have the free market dynamic enterprise culture that we believe in as Conservatives, but on the other hand, you have the public services and the infrastructure and the education and health that we also believe in. And each, of course, supports the other. Each helps to propel the other along. And if we were so mad as to let Corbyn in, let me remind you that not only is he, as everybody knows, a Hamas-supporting, anti-Semitism, condoning, Hugo Chavez admiring apologist for the Kremlin, and a man who has now apparently decided that he would rather support the mullahs of Tehran than our friends in the United States of America when it comes to what's happening in the Persian Gulf. But it's far, far worse than that. This is a guy who wants to whack up just about every single tax that you can think of. He wants to put up income tax to 50%, he wants to put up inheritance tax, he wants to invent a financial transaction tax. He would all to pay for a deranged £300 billion programme of renationalisation, an idea that went out about 20 or 30 years ago. He cannot be allowed anywhere near Downing Street. He cannot let it happen. And I say, because the disaster would be, of course he would have good intentions about the public services, but what he would do is he would tax so much and attack so much on the wealth-creating sector and on people's incomes and livelihoods. He would pluck, as it were, all the feathers off that crucial free market wing, so that the economy would go into a kind of spiral and collapse. Do you understand the metaphor I'm trying to elaborate here? So my message to you is: don't let Corbyn anywhere near Downing Street. Don't let Corbyn anywhere near Downing Street. And always remember that we can don't let them keep their plucking fingers off the tax system. Don't let them damage our economy in the way that they are proposing to do. They would absolutely ruin it. Let's get this thing done. Let's get Brexit over the line, and then let's take forward some fantastic, sensible, modern, one nation conservative policies. And we can do it. We can absolutely do it.
You're the man for the job.
And what we can do then, we can take the fight. Not just we can make sure that we win back all those voters who have gone off to other parties. I won't name them, except to say that one of them is the Brexit Party, and the other one's the Liberal Democrat. They're feeding on our current failure, aren't they? You know, it's our fault. It's our fault. They've grown like gigantic puffballs, saprophytically nourishing themselves on the decay of the two main parties. But we can win them back, and we can make sure we crowd out the Liberal Democrats, and then we can absolutely knock Jeremy Corbyn into a cocked hat where he belongs. That is the agenda, and that is our programme. It's a very, very exciting programme. And I think actually when you look at the position of the Conservative Party, look at what we are achieving. Record lows in unemployment. We have more foreign investment than any other European country. 1.3 trillion pounds came in last year, an absolute record. We lead the world in so many of the sectors of the 21st century economy. In tech, in bioscience, in academia. Say nothing of academia. We have, I think I'm right in saying, we have 1 in 7 of the world's kings, queens, presidents and prime ministers educated in this country. Isn't that an amazing thing? And now that the Emperor of Japan turns out to be educated at Merton College, Oxford, we have a monopoly of the world's supply of emperors. we have the best cuisine anywhere in Europe now, don't we? Well, I'm going to assert it. There was once a time when I was Mayor of London when I think we had more Michelin-starred restaurants than they had in Paris itself, and the French were so cheesed off they went around dishing out Michelin stars in a kind of North Korean way. until they overtook us. But you get my point. We lead in all the culture, media, artistic sectors that are so lucrative and so important. And of course we lead in environmental technology as well. It's actually here in the West Midlands. Here in the West Midlands, once of course the heart of the original industrial revolution, that the new 21st century industrial revolution is taking place, with huge strides in battery technology being led by British firms and British scientists. And those improvements will not only, of course, help us to cut CO2 and improve our environment, but they will create tens of thousands of jobs now and for generations to come. So we have a huge amount to be positive about and a huge amount to look forward to. All we need to do, 3 things. Get Brexit done. Relaunch our party as the party of modern, progressive conservatism, and we can do that. And then, the 3rd thing, get ready to wallop Jeremy Corbyn. And I know I shouldn't, I hesitate to remind you of this point, but it is relevant to our current considerations. If you want somebody who has long experience of winning hard elections, if you want somebody who loves campaigning, if you want somebody who was able, actually, the last time I faced an emanation of the London Labour left in the form of Ken Livingstone in 2012, I was able to defeat him when we were 17 points behind Labour in London. I think that, I'm going to wind up this point, except I humbly submit to you, wonderful people here in Sutton Coldfield in Tess's garden tonight, I humbly submit to you that if you put your trust in me, we can win and we will win. I hope it is not too temerarious to ask for your support. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very kindly, Boris has agreed to answer 3 very quick questions. The first one of which comes from Claire Horrocks, one of our brightest young town councillors. Where is she? Can you shout it out?
Good evening. One of the key reasons
reasons we need to deliver a definitive Brexit by October the 31st is so that we can get back to doing what we do best as Conservatives, which is delivering a good domestic agenda.
Yes.
My question to you is regarding the NHS.
Yes.
I don't believe that solely committing more money to the NHS will solve its problems. Yes, we need more resource, but ultimately we need this delivered in the right areas, and we need policy and procedural change as well. We need integration between social care provision and mainstream health delivery. My question to you is, what are your plans for improving our National Health Service?
Well, thank you. Did everybody hear the question? We've got to do more for our NHS. It is one of the crowning glories of this country. It's admired around the world, and believe me, it's loved in the UK. And we're all users of it. It does a fantastic job, but it is still not getting the kind of support and indeed the kind of changes and management that it needs. And there is still too much of a disjuncture between the NHS and mental health services, and we've all seen the problem. We need to do far more to work with social care, with the police, with the NHS to bring together all those responsible for mental health provision. The £20 billion that has been allocated is fantastic. But how many of you have actually talked to doctors and nurses who feel that it's yet got through to the front line? It needs to get there. People need to feel the benefit of that spending in their wards and in GP surgeries, and I will make sure that happens. It's a curious thing, but when the first elective office I ever had was at university, where the guy who helped me get elected is now running the NHS, a guy called Simon Stevens. He's a very, very bright guy. So I'm going to work with him to see what we can do to sort things out. It needs more money, but where you're absolutely right is it needs reform. And it needs, we can't just put more money in without also asking for productivity improvements as well. And you've got to be careful, and you've got to realise the pressures that our doctors and nurses are under, but it's not just a question, as you say, of more money.
Okay, second.